Hey guys, welcome to Cycle-Zen vlog number 10, restoring an old bicycle. So, when we arrived at the farm, we found a shed full of old bicycles. Some were being used by Help X's to go and explore the local area. Obviously we had no need for these, but something we could do was help restore a very old bicycle, one that we have dated to about 1930. It's a very sentimental bike for our host Steve, and Sean took the time to create something beautiful from it. Check out this vlog as we show you how he restored this old piece of history into a functioning bicycle.
When we got the bike, she was looking pretty sad. Unfortunately, she hadn't been ridden in quite a long time, and the cranks and pedals had seized, the rear wheels had seized, the front wheel seized, and the bike was pretty much covered in rust and grime. But have no fear, Cycle-Zen team are here, and we're going to save her.
So guys, in terms of tools to disassemble the bike, what I'm going to be using is just a multi-tool with screwdrivers and all those kind of little bits on there, and then my other favourite tool, a big spanner which I can use to take all the big bolts off and hit anything else that doesn't want to come off.
So fortunately, after not having to use the spanner as a blunt hitting instrument that much, I got the bike into its constituent parts. Here's the old tyres and tubes. They weren't too hard to come off and basically fell off in my hands, and because of that I've gone and ordered some more on the old Tinternet. With any luck, they'll be here in the next year. The rear and front mud guards came off pretty easy as well, and being the parts most exposed to the elements, they were pretty covered in rust and grime, so they were going to need a lot of loving to get those back to good. Here's the old chain guard, the rear rack. Oh, she's dirty, and the most awkward thing, the chain. Removing the brakes was like a lesson in ancient engineering, and amazingly, for a 90-year-old bicycle, the brake pads were still in good nick, and me being a tight ass, I'll try and use them again. Important part to any bicycle, the wheels. Here's the rear wheel, fair bit of rust on the spokes, and pretty rusty around the rim as well, but pretty true and strong. Here's the front wheel, after I've already had a go giving it a clean, and you can see the spokes come up pretty nice. For cleaning the wheels, the frame and the other components, I'm just keeping it simple using a water disperser, stiff wire brush, some wire wool, and then some oil and some rags to finish off. The other thing you're going to need is some time, some patience, and a lot of elbow grease. Here's me going at the wheel. After about an hour, I managed to get the hub nice and shiny, but it does take time. It helps if it's a sunny day and you're wearing a cool hat. Remember that old rusty frame? Not anymore. She needed some attention, and she loved it.
We're back inside now, and by magic, the bike is ready to assemble.
Here's all those little fiddly components and brake bits. I managed to get them nice and clean, oiled and protected. Here's the chain, almost looking good as new after a bit of oil. It was indeed the original chain, and whilst cleaning it, I found the model name of the bicycle, the Coventry, which helped us in dating the bicycle as well. Here's the handlebars looking nice and shiny after a clean, the mud guards, the saddle, chain protector, rear rack, and those wheels, all looking pretty good. And the new tyres and inner tubes even arrived. And here's that beautiful frame and fork again. And now to put it all back together again.
Welcome back, guys. And ta-da! It's finished. Look at it. Shiny. Well, as you can see from the video, it did take a while. Probably over 2 hours, let's say. That's all I'm going to say. Over 2 hours. I had a few little problems where it was basically just me being stupid and not putting things on in the correct way, but as bike assemblies go, it's been pretty amazingly easy. 90-year-old bicycle. The cool thing about restoring this bicycle is I feel like I've learned a lot about old bicycle mechanics, and this is why I think taking old bicycles, taking them apart and getting them back into a nice rideable condition is a really great thing to do, because it's just kind of like self-learning really. And I think in a way, rather than making it look brand new and sandblasting and painting it, it's nice to see the age on it. The brakes are sharp as anything. The seat is really actually still quite comfortable even though it's cracked, but getting all that rust off of there. The chain, as we saw, was totally just muddied up and gone. The great thing about this bike though is, even though it's 90 years old, it's been able to be taken apart and put back together without me really having to buy anything apart from new tyres and new inner tubes, which are really the kind of perishable things. Even the bicycle pedals, which are made of a kind of hard plastic. That could be rubber actually, I'm not sure. But that's in great nick as well. But the thing I've loved most about doing this bike, and the thing that took me the most time to do, was the brakes. These rod brakes, they're 90 years old. Without any instruction manual, they just kind of seem to explain themselves, which I always think is a sign of really intelligent engineering. The bike's done. I'm really looking forward to giving it back to Steve and seeing what his reaction is. There's one last thing every bike mechanic has to do when they've finished a bike before they give it to anyone else, is take it for a test ride.
So, interestingly, during the restoration, Sean found this note in the seat stem. As you can see, it's a piece of paper that dates back some years. It describes the big offer of Empire goods on the front, and on the back it has the name Myhill, Hethel, Norwich. We've assumed that this was put in here as it was being constructed and gave information about the buyer of the bike. Interestingly, after doing some research, it was very hard to find out about the makers of the bike. Phillips Bicycles is actually a stub on Wikipedia, meaning it's just a rudimentary summary of what we know. Phillips cycles themselves were actually better known for the mopeds which they later produced around the 50s and 60s. Needless to say, from the information we gathered, we believe the bicycle dates between 1930 and 1937. Therefore, it's one of the oldest bicycles that we could even find on the internet. Very cool. More than that, we had a piece of history and a person that we could actually identify. Watch this.
Hey guys, so a little conclusion to the bicycle restoration project, which I think rounds the story off quite nicely. I went for a little walk up to the churchyard that's just about a mile from where we're staying at the moment. The little note we found in the bicycle stem, when we showed it to Steve, I think it tugged a little emotion maybe, because it reminded him of the gentleman that owned the bike. And he said his name was Arthur Myhill, and on the piece of paper was written Myhill, Norwich. It kind of helped us date the bike a little bit, and kind of it really inspired us to do the video, I suppose. He mentioned he was buried somewhere around here up in a cemetery, so I thought it could well be this cemetery. And indeed, I went for a little walk, and there is this stone that seems to kind of stand out amongst the others a little bit. Here he is, Arthur Myhill. So he died at 76 years old. So his bicycle outlived him, and I thought, you know, we live in a cycle, don't we? Life's very cyclical. People die and people are born, and time keeps on going, a bit like a bicycle wheel, I suppose. And that's pretty deep and wishy-washy, but I think there's a nice sentiment in it. I hope wherever Arthur is now, he's still got a sick bicycle, because the one he used to ride in this reality, in this life, is pretty cool.